What?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome wherever you are in the world. We are actually like a global call here. So welcome to the launch call for Bring Your List to Life. I'm going to put myself back on the group of you so I can see everybody. Hi everybody, how you doing? Hi, Alan.
Hello. How's it getting
Um,
better?
You want to tell people kind of where we came up with this and how this little creation started to bubble?
God, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was, we were talking about, God, I don't know how we quite got into this, but I was thinking about kind of creating our life, and we somehow, because which is always for me a good sign that this is going to be a fun creation, because I can't remember quite how the spark came, but we were talking about making our Christmas list, and when was the last time we actually wrote a Christmas list, and how much fun it could be, just kind of tapping into the not just the magic of Christmas, but the magic of who we be, and just playing with this of what would I actually like in my life. And that's kind of where we talk about, we could do another choosing beyond discussion. I thought, no, that's not quite right. We could make it more interactive and give people some tools to have a think about, actually, what would I like in my life and what is required and how can I make this fun? Because at the end of the year, I find that, with my coaching clients, they'll come to me and it'll all be, I'm doing a thing about it for my newsletter, but it's like almost like it's so serious to review the year and see where I didn't achieve and set my goals for next year. And it's all just so serious rather than going, hey, let's just get into the fun and the play of Christmas magic. And let me write my Christmas list. What would I really love? And, I was going to say before we started, because me, I'll kind of do the call 10 hours before I start. And I was just thinking, what if the things that we can ask for are not necessarily physically tangible stuff? So like, I'm not getting you a laptop, which is typically what Christmas lists are. What if you could ask for, do you know what? I'd really love more kindness in my life. Or I would really love to be able to, on my Christmas list this year, I'd like to know a bit more about my talents and capacities for how I can create fun stuff. So that kind of really not just kind of focusing it on, I'd like more money, I'd like a new job, not so much necessarily the tangible stuff. You can put that, of course. What would be most fun for you to ask for? It's like if you had a magic wand, you had a Christmas wand, and you could wave it and get 3 things in your life. Any 3 things, no matter what they are, no matter how tangible or intangible, what would they be?
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with it.
I love that. Yes. Some of that, a similar energy was kind of percolating for me. And I was looking at how this conversation about the list started a little over a week ago. And we actually had on one of my shows with another amazing friend and co-creator, Rhonda Burns, we started talking about your grown-up Christmas list, because there is a song by that name. I don't think that's actually the name, but that's part of the refrain. And we were playing with the energy of, like you were talking about, when did you stop asking? When did we stop asking? And this morning I was looking at how when we're kids, we're so confident to ask because there's almost this knowing that we're going to get what we ask for. And some of it is tied up, everybody has their version of if you're not good and all of that. So that's one kind of aspect of it. But really, if you get beyond all of that and you play with the ask, oh my goodness, we'll come to that in just a minute, Camelia. Oh, wow, Cornelia.
Wow.
That's awesome. And that's another part of this. It's like some of us had the experience of, that was the one time we could just go full on into our asking, right? And then at some point, we stopped doing that. And I was looking at the energy of that. And now with Cornelia sharing that she never had a Christmas list, not even as a child, that's another aspect of the looking at the energy of what is it that has kept us from asking, either stopped or kept us from asking.
Do you know what's interesting? Sorry, as you talk about that, what's for me, I didn't do it that often. But when I did, it was always, what toys do you want? It was always kind of physical stuff. And we were supposed to put a list of things that we would really like, and they would just pick the stuff that they could, kind of afford. And with my mother, it was always, oh, well, kind of, you're asking for quite a lot there. So there was almost like this, there was a lot of judgment on my Christmas list. How could you possibly ask for that? I don't have that much money. And it's almost like, well, don't fucking ask me. You asked me to put down on my list, because as a child, we don't have that limitation of how something will show up. It's like, well, it would just show up. We knew that it would just show up. And it was made such a physical thing rather than, I love watching Christmas films, okay? And what I quite like about these really dreadful, tacky, and they are dreadfully tacky, in an interesting point of view. And they're very judgmental and very kind of, utopian ideal about what the Christmas spirit is, blah, blah, blah. But what I really quite like about them is often what the children write on their Christmas lists are, I would like my mother to have more ease, or, I would like to have a family for Christmas. There is that. They don't limit it to just the toys. And so I get that. Someone's like, well, what's the point in writing a Christmas list? Because you're not going to get me anything on there anyway.
Yeah, and that's another part of this is like that there's sort of this juxtaposed kind of energy, or this energy that is juxtaposed to the asking and the fun and the excitement and the curiosity. And then we start to like pack in these, but you can't ask for that. You can only ask for this much. You can't, and then there's all these conditions that are put on the asks, or in some cases the ask is like shut down completely, right? And so I wonder, like, for this call to really, like, what we were kind of targeting today is to, everywhere that is present in our universe, for this experiment, for this adventure, like, how much could we be willing to let go of anything and everything that we've been using, consciously or unconsciously, to stop ourselves from asking, or even prevent ourselves from asking?
What if we could, for this 1 minute, just imagine what it would be like if you never even heard of a Christmas list before? Right? You never, this is just a brand new concept of someone saying to you, okay, this is the time for you just to ask for anything you want. So you've got none of the baggage, as you were saying. It's like, it's not even letting go of it. It's like, imagine none of it even existed.
Yeah.
Or someone says to you, hey, look, I want you to write for me your Christmas list of the things that you would really love in your life. And you're like a child. Wow, I get to ask for anything? Okay, I'd like this, and I'd like this, and I'd like this. And every time, you feel yourself going into that judgment of, oh, I couldn't possibly ask for that. Who does, copying, who does that belong to? One of the Access Consciousness tools, who does that belong to? Who does that judgment belong to?
Yeah. And another way you might also play with that energy is, so what's the question? Who am I not allowing myself to ask for? Like, who am I allowing to stop me from asking?
Yeah.
That's the energy.
It is. Like, what am I making greater than my capacity
exactly,
to ask?
Exactly. Like, that's where we're giving up our choice also. So we're putting ourselves at the effect of someone else's thoughts, feelings, emotions, ideas, opinions, points of view, about what they think they should choose. And sometimes, they're in our world, and so they're being vocal about what they think we should choose. But yeah, so is there somebody or a number of people that you're stopping yourself on behalf of? And the funny thing is, when you kind of start to play with that, it's like, well, they don't really get to have say in your life. It's like what and when and for what reason would you allow them to have more choice than you in your own life?
I can hear lots of yeah buts. I can, like, as we're putting this out there, going, yeah, but I don't. Yeah, I don't want to seem selfish. Yeah, but I don't. I don't want them to hate me. Yeah, but. Okay, stop with the yeah buts, right? Because they're just excuses and justifications for you not to choose to ask for what you would like. And this whole ask thing is, again, I can feel we're going down the rabbit hole again. It's like, oh, but I need to know how it's going to show up. I need to know how I'm going to afford it. I need to know where it's going to come from before I can ask for it. Blah, 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 blah. It's like,
That's why we're making this 4 weeks.
yeah, right. It's like, just be aware of it and go, wow, that's really interesting. Because you can feel yourself tensing as you're going down there. Yeah, but yeah, but yeah, but when you hear, the only good butt is the one you sit on. Any other butts you keep out of your life.
Yep. Those butts with the double T's, those are the ones you work on. The butts with the one T, those aren't sexy.
No. They're just not sexy.
And they come up a lot, right? I mean, and that's part of what we wanted to play with this adventure is, okay, so there's like so much that we pile on top of or in front of or around our ask. And what would it be like to just let ourselves have the fun of asking and have the fun of playing with, wow, if I could have anything I wanted, anything I desired, what would I even ask for? So for me, one of this year is rather poignant with the whole Christmas, and my birthday happens to be in December as well. So it's kind of a big month that I love to play with. And I love winter. I love the colder weather. And this year, what is occurring in as a part of my life is that I'm required to leave this space I've been living and find a new space. So this year, as corny as it might sound, I'm actually asking for a home for Christmas. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things on my list that I'm going to be playing with. And it's funny because, there's all kinds of movies and all kinds of stuff, that we could play with there. But the whole process of even being willing to choose to ask for this, to choose to let myself ask for something beyond you have to take what you can get or beyond any of the judgments I have about what I'm able to create and what I'm willing to receive. This has been pretty enormous for me. And it's just part of what brought me to this question about the Christmas list stuff has been looking at, we get into this conditioning that as we were saying, there's only certain times we let ourselves ask. And for a lot of us, it's only when we get into a lot of trouble, when our back is against the wall, yada, yada. And then the idea, this energy of what we're allowed to ask for as well. And we've kind of brought all of that into this conversation so far. And where I'd like to really, the energy I really would like to include in this call, in this conversation, is that choosing to begin to ask, the choosing to let go of everything that doesn't allow us to even ask in the first place. And what I'm finding fascinating is how much that has actually been where I tried to create my life from for a long time. And this whole last year has been really bringing so much more of that awareness up for me in my life. So what about, you've had some fantastic conversations with both with your co-host, Ms. Tamara, and also with some of the people you've been playing with. Is there something for you, like a one or two things that you've just been so resistant to asking for? Like you didn't even allow yourself to play with the possibility of asking in the first place?
I was just sitting there as you were talking thinking, okay, what's the most outrageous thing I could ask for? And what would it be? What would it be? What's the most outrageous thing that I would love to ask for?
It's a great question.
Yeah, and it's like I almost kind of go blank.
Mm-hmm.
So what would I... Okay, so... And I love to play with that. So what would I love to ask for that I've never dared ask for before? What is that? What is it that I would really love that I've really stopped myself from asking for it?
And that's the choosing beyond. I love the energy of that. Because we ask the question for choosing beyond. What conversation have you always desired to have and never dared to choose?
Do you know what I would love to ask for? And I know there is so much judgment attached to this because I can feel it. It almost stops me from asking. But it's like I would love to have so much money constantly coming into my life so that I don't have to work.
Awesome.
And I can hear all of the yeah buts kind of
Right.
coming in, and the judgments, and the
Hmm.
that's just lazy and blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, so if I were to choose beyond that, or all of that, and just not make any of that judgment real, because I love being taken care of, but I like to know, but I don't.
Hmm.
I don't like to feel like I'm beholden to.
Hmm.
So, okay, so what's it going to take to always have more than enough money coming in so that I can choose to do stuff because it's fun for me,
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, is like everything is the opposite of what it appears to be. You've got to choose what's fun for you, and then the money will follow, not the other way around. But I forcing myself to do some of the stuff that I do, and that's how it feels sometimes. I force myself to run my business. What I would really love to ask for is more joy and ease in my business.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. That was pretty cool. And when you were very, like at the very first part of that, when you were looking for what is it that I have not been willing to ask for, part of what I was noticing was like there's this energy that shows up when we're willing to ask that kind of question. And for a lot of us, what I wonder is if the thing that we actually want to ask for is so much bigger than we've ever acknowledged.
And we can't even perceive it. But do you know what I would
Exactly.
love? Do you know what I really love to have? I would love what I would really like to have this Christmas is, or from this Christmas energy list thing, I would
Mm-hmm.
love to be able to ask for anything I would like.
Mm,
No judgment of me.
that's yummy.
And that's the energy. So it's like these are what I mean. When at the beginning I was saying it doesn't have to be tangible. I would love to have total ease with asking for everything I desire.
That's awesome.
Universe,
Yeah.
what's it going to take to have that?
Yeah. I love that energy. Yeah. And see, and totally within there, I am totally perceiving the excitement, the joy, the yay.
Absolutely, Cornelia. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And so so for the launching of this, like to get us going, to really like open up this space for ourselves and together, because this is really like a part of this is really the fun of us cheering each other on.
Yeah.
So whenever you join this adventure, if you're watching this as a replay, um, please know that you can jump in wherever and whenever and however you like. There's kind of an energy of mastermind to this as well. This is we'll give you a little bit of the logistics. So we have today's call, and then Alan and I are going to create several videos that we're going to post in the Choosing Beyond events. Well, on the page, we're going to create the events and post them for everybody to access however they want to, at whatever pace you want to actually be playing with consistently really bathing in this energy and stoking this energy and expanding this energy. And and then it'll go for 4 weeks. So today's December 11th when we're actually having this call live, and then I believe it's January the 7th that we will. I think that's a Saturday,
Yeah.
which will be a Sunday in the southern hemisphere of the world. But we're going to kind of just move through these next 4 weeks, really playing with as much of this as we are willing to play with, and cheering each other on to play with as much as each other is willing to play with, and seeing really just what shows up, like letting go of all of the reasons that it couldn't happen, all of the reasons to not let yourself just go full force into the question and play in the energy of it, and really start to see what we can be receiving. And in that, like a part of this is we're creating it, we're co-creating it, we're asking the universe to show it to us, and I'm really excited to see what and how it shows up. You had something?
No, me too. I was just going to say as well, as you're playing, if you choose to play with us and these videos and the tools that we'll be and the things we're going to be sharing, ask your questions, because, your contributions are going to help to kind of guide, where the energy flows to. We did a
Yeah.
radio show called Flow with the Go. Which, and it's like in some ways the flow will, we say kind of go with the flow, but in some ways it's like a simultaneity going on there. You've got to kind of direct where you would like the flow to go, and then you can join in that flow. You are the flow, you are the director of the flow, and you are in the flow. There is no. So where would you like to go? What would you like to know? What would you like to kind of, what do you need help with? Because as well, these questions that you have go, oh, that's a stupid question. The minute you hear yourself say that to yourself, ask the freaking question, because it's that question. The reason you say it's a stupid question is to stop you. It's a way you stop yourself.
Yeah.
That's almost like be really grateful when you hear saying to yourself, oh, that's a stupid question, I couldn't possibly ask that. That's a gift, because then that's the thing you need to ask. Not just for you, but for other people who are playing with these too, whether it's now or in the future. Because we talk about this being kind of Christmas list, magic is there all the time. Your ability to create your life and ask for what you desire is there all the time. It just happens to be at Christmas that we tend to kind of really, we do. If you notice, yes, there are always going to be grumpy people around, but people do, I find, tend to be just that little bit more generous, that little bit more, oh, well, it's Christmas. Oh, and they love the Christmas kind of magic, even though they don't necessarily say it out loud. You can feel it. It's almost palpable. It's like the one time in the year.
Like we let ourselves believe.
Yeah. And what if we were to approach this whole thing with a sense of play?
Yes.
Just play. And be willing to receive no as an answer, because that's another thing. It's like, and there, I can just feel already kind of everyone's kind of shutting, or not everyone, but there are people shutting down from this. It's like, who are going to be listening to this at some point. Yeah. You've got to be willing to receive a no.
Yeah, well, and for a number of us, at different points in our lives, excuse me, there was, the ask was kind of a setup. And then there was this sort of a blow delivered, that was unkind. There was an unkindness around the ask. So part of what we're going to be doing as we go through this next 4 weeks is really playing with allowing ourselves to notice all of the things like that, all of the things, however, whenever they got created, that we've been using consciously or unconsciously to stop ourselves. And we will play with we're going to offer you some things through those videos to apply and just see if they kind of land for you and how they land for you. And if you want to use those, we call them tools. We also call them questions, and they won't some of them will have influence of the way we play in Access. For those of you who play with Access, not all of it will be about Access. So this is for everybody who wants to play, regardless of the modalities you play with. Regardless of what what culture you practice. It doesn't have to be specifically about Christmas. I do find it kind of interesting that each culture has their story, their tradition and their ritual around this kind of season of giving. And so for however we got there, for whatever ritual or rite of passage we practice for that season, for that tradition, doesn't really matter what we call it. What I think is also really one of the things I find really juicy is with regard to using the word Christmas, the energy of the Christ Mass and the Christ energy, as we talk about it. If you get away from the story, the Christ energy is actually the anointed one, the energy of the anointed one, and there is that sense of that miracle. And what I wonder is if part of what we could be willing to play with is if we put the story of what got created as Christianity, set that slightly aside, and we actually just look at what is the energy of being anointed? What is the energy of being the light into the world? And what is the creation, the capability of creation as you being that energy? And that's kind of at the essence of all of these stories. It's like this recognition or this claiming that each of us has that potency, has that power of creation, and is that gift to the world. So would we be willing to play with that energy and really expand on it and let it show up in such a different way than what we've ever imagined possible for each of us?
And that's the key, isn't it? It's allowing it to show up however it chooses to show up. And I would love to invite people to be selfish, and everything that brings up for you as you do. What would you like to ask for you? Without getting into the kind of the whole kind of kingdom of we business, it's like, what would you really love to have in your life? Not what you think you should, not what you think is allowed, not what you think is not selfish, not, any, like, you want to, it's like, what would you like for once in your life? Just allow yourself to be in that energy of, do you know what? I'm asking for this and I'm having it. That's the energy of the demand of you and the receiving from the universe. It's like, do you know what? I am having more ease with asking for everything I would like in my life. I'm having my new MacBook. I'm having more sex that is fun for me in my life. Those are going to be, I think, my 3 things that I'm going to play with on my list. And we'd like to keep it to kind of 3, because that way you get to kind of really play with it. And we're going to be talking about tools that you can, as Keisha was saying, or things that you can do to really tap into. Okay, so what's required for this? But also this whole energy of the gift that you be. What if the universe, consciousness, whatever you want to call it, Father Christmas even, what if, this kind of energy would like to gift to you just because it can?
Exactly.
What if you are a gift just because you exist?
Yeah.
When you acknowledge that, when you acknowledge that actually one of your greatest gifts that you can be for this planet is your ability to ask.
Exactly.
Right. Have you ever acknowledged that your capacity to ask for what you desire is a gift to the world? Because if we don't ask for things, the universe can't provide us with the elements to actually create them. It's our ideas and our sparks of inspiration that we're willing to tap into and be and actualize that is actually the gift. If Einstein hadn't asked questions, we wouldn't have half the things. Or, who was the guy... who was the guy who painted the Sistine Chapel? Michelangelo.
Uh-huh.
If he hadn't asked questions, he had airplanes, the whole concept of an airplane when he was alive. And that didn't happen for a long time, but he was asking the questions about what that was then. So, and also, let's get out of the whole linear thing.
Yes.
Because we kind of think, it's not possible to have it in this lifetime. You're an infinite being, people. You have multitudes of lifetimes. This is not going to be the last time that you probably choose to be on this planet. In which case, what if your asks don't have to be limited to just this lifespan? I know that's kind of going a bit kind of esoteric and kind of out there, but it's just like, if you could have anything in your life, what would it be?
Yeah.
So... I created a document which you can play with, which is in the event. It's a PDF and it just says My Christmas List.
I love it.
And there's just 3 spaces, and I put the link in their Dropbox in the chat room here as well. So you can download it from there. And, just play with it. Just write down what it is that you would like. And, as we go through the next 4 weeks, we'll be offering you different kind of ways to tap into the energy of those things. And to really let go of the judgments and the restrictions that you put on yourself or you are aware of. What if you never limited you ever again? What could you ask for? If no one had ever told you there is nothing you cannot have, if no one had ever told you there are things that are impossible or things you can't have, what would you ask for? If you never ever been aware of limitation before, what would you ask for? Sorry.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that just popped was if you ask for something and if some of your asks or all of your asks actually show up like tomorrow or next week, would you be another thing on the list? And keep it going. And that's part of the invitation of this adventure as well, is anywhere we put a limit on what we can ask for or what we can receive, because we're playing with ask and receive. Okay. As you're receiving what you're asking for, would you be willing to keep asking? Would you be willing to ask for something else in addition to what you're desiring and what you're asking for currently? Which is another part of this. It's like we ask for things and then we go into like, oh, well, this is now I've got what I asked for, so now I have to stop. Or we bring this either shut down or we create a lull in the energy, like a stoppage of some sort. And a part of this is about like, oh, wow, I asked for this. Oh, this showed up. Oh, now what can I ask for next? And do you have to stop yourself? Who says you have to like receive this much and then go, okay, I've made my quota, and then we stop asking? Because again, we're also playing with the contribution that our asking is to everything and everyone else. And again, that's not something for us to know exactly how that looks. It's just a part of are we willing to keep choosing that, keep being that, keep creating?
You know what else I get with this as well is this is going to take a lot of vulnerability, no barriers, because you don't have to announce to us or anyone else what you're putting on your list. That's something you need to be aware of. What I would invite you to be aware of is where you're trying to keep it secret and hidden, and because you're ashamed of what you're asking for. There's a difference between not broadcasting it out, just for me, just for fun, never tell anyone. There's a difference between that energy and, oh God, I couldn't possibly tell anyone in case they judge me, because that in itself will stop it. Oh.
Oops. We just got a notice in the chat for those who are listening.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's coming out as that's really interesting. I'm not quite sure why that's happened, but I can play with that. I mean, hopefully you can still print that off, but I will have another play with that. Yeah. Cool. Bear with me, people. So thank you so much for that, Cornelia. This is going to take a degree of vulnerability, and you being totally honest with you, with no judgment around actually what is it that I would truly like. And like I said, you don't have to share it with me and Keisha or anyone else in the event. You can if you would like. It'll be lovely. It would love it if you do, but if you don't, do you know what? That's okay. Because what can sometimes happen is when you share your list with what you would like with people who can't actually receive you having that, they will contaminate it with their judgments. So you just need to be aware that it's not because they're necessarily mean. Some people are. Some people actually are mean. Some people don't mean to be mean, but they kind of are. And so they'll say, well, how can you possibly ask for that? And, oh, my God, you're really brave asking for that. And, wow, you don't have to tell people.
Yeah.
You really don't.
So, So for today's target, for this call's target and the launch target is, so first, would you be willing to let yourself really play with I love the question Alun posed for us a little bit ago of, what do I truly desire that I maybe haven't even been willing to acknowledge and begin to ask for? And so some ways that you can get to what do you desire to be asking if you don't already have your asks. That's a fabulous question to start. And another one could be, if I could have anything I desire, what would I ask for? And just start letting that stir the energies. And know that you are very aware. So every time you might bump into anything to do with, oh, I couldn't ask for that. Oh, I asked for that last year and it didn't show up. Oh, I did that as a kid and it didn't work. Oh, no, so-and-so tried that and it blah, blah, blah. Anywhere that you have anything like that running, would you be willing to simply acknowledge, oh, look what I did. Look how I'm trying to stop myself. Oh, look what excuses I've been telling myself. And would you be willing to simply allow yourself to let go of whatever that is? If you play with access tools, you can do the clearing process if you desire. Everywhere I'm buying that, I destroy and uncreate it. You can use the clearing statement if you want. However it works for you. So this is not really about telling you how to technically go through the steps of asking or receiving. It's really about playing with, wow, what makes this fun for you? What would be fun for you to ask for? What do you truly desire to be asking for? And what would make this so fun for you to be playing with and receiving what you're asking for? That is the way you do this. It's the way each of us does this for ourselves. And that we get to do that individually, and then we get to come together as a group and support each other, cheer each other on, contribute to each other. And again, that doesn't have to look like you necessarily saying something to everybody involved here. Just you choosing to participate in your way, even if you never post in this event page, is a contribution.
Yeah.
Totally. So this is really about how much fun can we have doing this? How much can we allow ourselves to simply dive in and go for it? And no request, no ask is ridiculous. What if no ask is too silly, too goofy, too stupid, too big, too small, too weird? There's no such thing. What if every ask is totally allowed here? Yeah.
No limits, baby.
No
Absolutely.
limits. No limits, no filters, no restrictions, no conditions. So that's really kind of where we want to dive in today. And whenever you're playing with this conversation, would you be willing to dive in today and start asking some questions for you and see what it is you truly want to be asking for, no matter what time of the year it is on the calendar, whenever you're finding these conversations. So keep an eye in the page. We're not going to be sending out emails for this experiment. We're actually going to have everything posted on the Choosing Beyond Beyond page. And of course, if you want to share the events and invite people to participate, the more the merrier, possibly. And Alun, what would you like to add?
I think really it's the biggest thing I would like to say to people is invite people to is just have fun with it. Really approach this from a sense of play and joy and with no expectations about what shows up, how it shows up, and be willing to receive everything. Because so often when we ask for stuff, so much more can show up when we're willing to receive it because we had no expectations. Like, oh, wow, I knew I wanted that, but that's even better. It's like, so let go of all of your, decisions, judgments, conclusions, computations, all of that, kind of stuff around this whole thing. If I were truly playing with this, what would I choose? If I were creating this from a sense of play with no expectations, just from a sense of play about how much fun you could have out of doing this, what could you ask for?
And what is this? I'm loving this energy of bringing it to life, because it really, I get that energy of the toys coming to life and we bring that animation to the objects in the three-dimensional world, and it can be an experience. It doesn't necessarily have to be a material object or item. It's just there's that sense of excitement here that I'm totally tapping into, of that essence of creation bringing so much to life in our worlds, if we're willing to allow that to occur for us, and if we're willing to actually acknowledge for ourselves to begin with that we actually can do that. So maybe a part of the starting here is, everywhere you've bought into a belief that for whatever reason, you, of all people in the world, can't be a creator of magnitude. Maybe that would be something to start with letting go of, with destroying and uncreating, with choosing beyond that point of view. And what else is possible for you as a creator, and for you to be creating, that is beyond any belief you've ever bought into? And would you be willing to ask for that?
Lisa Murray once said on a call recently, if choice was your favorite toy, what ease and joy could you have with choice?
Yes.
And, if this Christmas list was one of your favorite toys, what ease and joy could you have playing with it? Because when you play with your toys as a kid, there was no right or wrong way to play with a toy per se. You would just pick it up and play with it. If your car, my mother used to say to me, cars can't fly. My cars could fly. They didn't need wings. They were magic, right? I knew that. So,
wow.
So unless anyone, I get post your questions on the events if we do them, or post them as well on the Choosing Beyond Beyond page. Keisha and I, if you need to message us directly, you can do that too.
Absolutely.
We're here to support you. Clearly we're not going to turn it into a kind of full-blown facilitation session.
Those are available.
But they are available, and
we're more
than happy to do that.
Absolutely.
But if you have anything kind of burning that you need immediate help with, we'll do our best. But yeah, post your questions,
Yeah.
and we'll do the best to kind of answer them in the videos that we do. Actually, that's a good thing to do. Post your questions, and we'll address them in the videos that we do, so that way everyone gets to. So you can send them to us, and so that nobody knows who you are. If you would rather keep it anonymous to other people,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, we can do that for you. But yeah,
Yeah.
ask your questions.
Yeah. Wow. I wonder how many questions we can begin to put into the universe, how many asks we can actually begin to put into the universe and really spark that creation in each of our lives. There is a sense of excitement with all of this. And would you let yourself be excited? If each of us could just let ourselves be excited and be in the curiosity, I love the generativeness of that.
Yeah.
I love what that actually can create. And I don't always get there with ease. um, and I'm willing to keep choosing beyond those moments. And that is part of what this adventure is about. So, wow, I think we're kind of ready to wrap it up. Are you
Yeah.
perceiving any other things that want to be said, spoken to, addressed? It kind of feels like we're at that starting point. So
I think so. I think it's that energy now of how can I play with this? That's the energy. It's like I need to go and play with this. I need to go and play with this. I need to go and play with this. So yeah,
okay,
I think
cool. Cool. All right. Well, there we go, my friends. And thank you for joining us. Whenever you're joining us, you can play whenever. There's no wrong way to do this. Always please remember that, and we'll be happy to remind you. There's no wrong way to do this. So what are you ready to ask for? Alan, what are you ready to ask for? And each of you, what are you ready to ask for? And will you begin to choose it right now? And let's play with bringing our Christmas list to life. What would it be like to have so much more fun than we could ever imagine bringing our Christmas list to life?
What can
Woo!
I ask for that would bring so much joy to my life?
Yeah. Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
All right,
All
people.
right, friends, we're going to stop the recording now. So we'll see you in the event pages.
Yep.